smoke the dizzy, but we can always share some disease. It's just a cup in time. This song doesn't have to rhyme. Life's all of us, not every moment we can be feeling fine. I wanna share a moment, just a second if you will, maybe even a cup of thrill. We could share this performance. It's tea time, come sit with me.
Well, welcome guys, Miss Liz in the house, and today I have Adrienne Caldwell in the house, and we're going to be talking about her incredible book. We do want to put out a trigger warning that today's tea time will be talking about a lot of hard topics, so please be concerned about that. But you guys know Miss Liz has her disclaimer, and we're going to read that in just a short second. But before we get started, you guys know how Miss Liz rolls. Go over to Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, all the podcast apps, and give those a like, follow, and subscribe, and get those tea times out there for everyone, because these tea times do make a difference for everyone out there. If this tea time resonates with somebody out there and you feel like you're alone, your story does matter. And today we're going to show you that your story matters with Adrienne as she shares her story. So let's get started with disclaimer and then a beautiful intro. And then I'm going to get Adrienne in here and we're going to spill some tea together. And today's tea is hope for the best, expect the worst, and accept what comes. That is the tea we are serving today. We are not serving a beverage in this house. We serve real life stories and real different perspectives on avenues and trauma and all that good stuff. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz's Tea Time is a global platform dedicating to sharing real life stories, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations that inspire awareness, healing, and connection. I'm Miss Liz is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment during the live broadcast, please grant StreamYard permission to display your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that all the content brought forward during any Tea Time show is presented in good faith. However, discussions may include opinions, beliefs, and perspectives that do not necessarily represent the views of Miss Liz or the Tea Time platform. Information shared by guests is based on their own experiences and is perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All guests, viewers, and participants are responsible for using their own judgment when considering any action or decisions that may relate to these discussions. Some episodes may cover sensitive topics, including but not limited to trauma, abuse, grief, mental health, and other emotionally triggering subjects. Listeners and viewers' discretion is strongly advised. Tea Time with Miss Liz is an open discussion forum designed to offer insight, inspire awareness, and create connection. It is not a substitute for professional, medical, legal, or therapeutical advice. If you require professional support, please seek assistance from qualified professionals or trusted resources in your area. If you have any questions regarding this disclaimer or the content of the discussion, you are welcome to contact me, aka Miss Liz, directly at my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com or visit my link tree at Miss Liz's Tea Time. By choosing to participate in, comment on, or view these live shows, you acknowledge and accept this disclaimer. Your participation is entirely voluntary. I, Miss Liz, welcomes you to join the conversation with an open heart, and if at any time you feel this platform is not right for you, I respect your wishes and decision and welcome you back whenever you are ready. Tea Time with Miss Liz is serving truth and awareness one cup at a time. Well, welcome to Tea Time with Miss Liz, where we do not skim the surface, we sit in the truth. Today's guest carries a story of survival, advocacy, and rebuilding after trauma. This is not a comfortable conversation, it is a necessary one. Please welcome Adrienne Caldwell, author of Unbroken. Adrienne's journey is marked by deep personal trauma, manipulation, control, and the kind of abuse that can hide in plain sight. She speaks openly about what it means to endure circumstances no one should face, and what happened after, when the situation ends but the emotional aftermath lingers. She will share about reclaiming identity after being stripped of self-worth, confronting shame that was never hers to carry, recognizing red flags, and rebuilding trust when it has been shattered at its core. Adrienne's voice is not about reliving pain. It's about reclaiming power. It's about awareness, accountability, and giving others permission to see clearly what they may be living through. So grab your cup and lean in. Today's tea time is about survival, advocacy, healing, and what it truly means to rise. Unbroken. So let me get Adrienne in here and let's spill some tea together.
Hi,
Welcome,
Miss
Adrienne.
Liz. Hi, Miss Liz. Thank you very much for having me. It is truly an honor to be here with your audience and with you.
It is a pleasure to have you here, Adrienne. I want to give you the floor. You asked me for 90 seconds, so go ahead.
Yes.
Give us the 90 seconds.
I'm Adrienne Caldwell. I did write a book. It's Unbroken: Life Outside the Lines. And it's the story of my life from early childhood to early 20s. And this will also serve as our trigger warning for this episode. I have either witnessed or been the victim of the sexual assault of a young girl, the drowning death of a child, emotional and physical abuse, extreme poverty, mental illness, homelessness, horrifically abusive foster care, bulimia, drug and alcohol addiction, pedophilia, death, suicide, and incest. So there are not very many things that I can't relate to. I have experienced quite a bit, and I share those issues, those traumas in Unbroken. But it's not about reliving the trauma and staying stuck in it. It's about my goal, my vision is to share inspiration and hope. I want people to look at my story and say, you know, if she can go through all of that and come out with just an amazing, blessed life that I'm grateful for every day, if she can go through that, I can make it through what I'm going through. And that's the message that I want to share today.
Adrienne, I want to take you back to that little girl. Let's start with the little girl. Who was Adrienne as a little girl and who is Adrienne today?
So I had platinum blonde hair, just baby blonde hair. My grandma would put me in pigtails, so parts straight down the middle, hair on each side. And she would do it so tight that my forehead would lift. She took care of me while my mother and her 3 siblings worked to support the family. My grandfather moved the family from Fayetteville, North Carolina to Houston, Texas, and then promptly abandoned the family. So the 4 children, my aunts and uncle had to work, and my grandmother cared for me, and she adored me. She even told me, she said, don't tell anyone else, but you're my favorite grandchild. She told me that. And I think I was 4 years old, and I promptly went to my aunt and said, Grandma said I'm the favorite. So, and that hurt her feelings because she had just had a son. So, just adored and cherished. And there are stories about my grandmother that are deeply troubling, but that wasn't who she was with me. She was my guardian. She was my protector. She was a shield against a mother who was becoming increasingly erratic. Not many people know this, but schizophrenia doesn't develop like other mental illnesses. It develops in late teens and early 20s. Well, my mother had me at 19. So basically her schizophrenia and we grew up together. Oh. But my grandmother shielded me, but she passed away when I was 7 years old, and I lost that guardian. So and at 5 years old, I witnessed the sexual assault of my best little girlfriend, and that started the trauma of my life. That was the first instance where I realized that little girls are not safe in this world. At 5 years old, I already had that knowledge. And what saved me was just inner instinct. I knew the situation was dangerous. I knew it was bad. And I immediately ran away and got my family. And they came and found the girl. She had been violated with tree branches. And I realized that that could have been me. That was very nearly me. But of course, my family, from a military background, very stoic. Nobody thought to get me counseling or therapy. Heck, we didn't even talk about it. It wasn't mentioned again. Nobody thought that, hey, maybe Adrienne needs to process some of this survivor's guilt that I absolutely felt at 5 years old. The guilt of feeling relief that it wasn't me that got assaulted. So already at a very young age, I was experiencing trauma with my mother being schizophrenic and witnessing the sexual assault of my best friend, and then dealing with the abandonment issues from my grandmother dying. So I believe that I was meant to endure the things that I did throughout my life, and that it has served to prepare me for my purpose, my role, which I think, I didn't get a memo saying you're supposed to do this, which I think is to share my story with others and to be a beacon of hope.
We go through things in life, and we talked before we went live. Your story resonated a lot with my story, and that's why I want to have stories like this on Tea Time, is because it helps to hear another story. It helps us not feel so alone. And for the listeners out there who do feel alone, you can hear two women who have survived so much and make a difference. What really stood out was the title of your book for me, because I always use the word broken, and a lot of people say, Miss Liz, stop using that word broken. For me, broken is beautiful. Like, we have to break for the pieces for the light to come in. How did you get the title of your book, Adrienne? Because your title of your book is Unbroken. I'm going to just pop it up and then kind of explain the cover, because the cover, I'm sure, has a story to it too.
It does. It does. That's very insightful of you. So unbroken, if you look it up in the dictionary, it says not tamed, not fit for service. And I think of a wild horse, that you can't ride that horse until the horse is broken. Basically, its spirit has to be broken in order to ride the horse. And originally, I did have broken as the title. And it occurred to me that that's not right. You can be damaged, but not broken. And that's where I feel that I am unbroken. And I think about the Japanese art, I believe it's kintsugi, I may be mispronouncing that, where pottery that's broken, they repair it with gold. And the end result is this beautiful piece of pottery with these gold lines throughout, where being broken actually improved it. It made it more beautiful. It added value to it. So unbroken. And then life outside the lines. I have never colored inside the lines. Just never. I am an out of the box thinker. And the photograph that you see, which if you look at my entire jacket for the book or the paperback, if you lay it out, it's one continuous image of the trees with the lake reflecting them. My brother is actually a professional photographer, and he gave me the rights to his Vermont photograph collection. So this image is from my brother.
Wow. I like that you said that you're outside of the lines.
Yes, very much so.
Well, it means that you're not afraid to stand on your own.
That's correct. I am very independent, very strong-willed. I have been since I was a child. I had to be. After the loss of my grandmother, I parented myself. My childhood ended very early for me. It ended around 7 years old when my grandmother passed.
So, Adrian, what was the moment you realized you were more than what happened to you?
I don't know. Well, I do have a singular moment. I had attempted suicide using a gun. It misfired. I should be dead. And that evening, I was taken to the psychiatric hospital. I was placed on a mandatory 72-hour suicide hold. And that evening, I was laying in the psychiatric ward. There was this room that was empty. The lights were off. I just laid down on the ground, didn't sit in a chair, nothing. I just laid. There was a small window, a little bit of light streaming in. And all of a sudden, I felt this overwhelming sense of peace, serenity, calm. And it was in that moment that I realized that I would not be allowed to leave this earth until I had fulfilled my purpose. And that was my last suicide attempt.
And how old were you when you did that?
22.
So at 22, you knew. I tried 9 times, and then I was like, the good Lord doesn't want me. Like, I need to be here for a reason. Like, he doesn't want to take me. Like, is that how you felt?
It's absolutely how I felt, that I was here for a purpose. And I was so desperate to end the pain and the hurt that I was feeling that I even attempted suicide during a drunken blackout. I was completely blacked out, and it was so, my life was so painful. I was so damaged and so hurt that even my subconscious self, to try to kill yourself, I swallowed a bottle of pills. To try to kill yourself when you're blacked out, that's an indication. And I cannot honestly answer the number of times that I have tried to kill myself, because I don't know. I don't know if there were other instances when I was blacked out, that I tried to kill myself. So I can relate, Miss Liz. Should I call you Miss Liz or just Liz?
You can call me whatever you want, dear.
Oh, okay. So yes, I completely relate to the idea that we're here for a reason.
Absolutely.
And yes.
So why did you feel compelled to write Unbroken: Life Outside the Lines?
There were a few catalysts. First was going through my Children's Protective Services case file. When I was 20 years old, I received a document from CPS asking if I wanted a copy of my file. And I filled out the form and said, yes, I want my file. They sent me this giant box with these 2 huge stacks of paper. And I would try to go through it and read what was written about me. And every time I started, I just got overwhelmed, and I shut the box and I just shoved it back under the couch, which is where it lives to this day. That's its place. And I started when I was 40, so about 6 years ago, I started going through it, and I got very angry about the abuse that I endured while I was in foster care. And I reached out to lawyers, I reached out to the state, I reported it to the county. In fact, there's a report, and I've requested an update, which I'm still waiting on. And I wanted some sort of recourse or repercussions for what the foster parent, and in the book I call her TBFH, the witch from hell, except with the B. TBFH. I don't even give her a fake name. She's the bitch from hell. And so basically just being told there was no recourse. Another factor was growing up, I went to 13 schools by the time I graduated high school. So I got very good at meeting people and having conversations and keeping the focus on the other person, never on me, always the other person. And in rare instances, I would open up about my life and my story, and I always got the same feedback. You should write a book. I have been hearing that since I was 16 years old. You should write a book. You should write a book. So between feeling powerless about what was done to me in that foster home, and anyone who says that emotional / psychological abuse is not abuse, I will hands down argue that is false. It's absolutely abuse. What I went through in that home, I have had nightmares about throughout my entire adult life. So my schizophrenic mother, who the last meeting, she beat me with a wooden dowel rod, the thing you hang your clothes on in the closet. That was the last beating, which was essentially a baseball bat. She beat me with essentially a baseball bat. And the schizophrenia, growing up with her being crazy, active, I shouldn't use the word crazy, but she was crazy. I've never had a nightmare about my mom, but TBFH, I've had a nightmare about her as recently as a month ago.
Wow.
So,
And that's what I really appreciate is you're bringing truth, because not all homes are safe. You know, just because it has the word foster in front of it doesn't mean that it's a safe home. My biggest fear, I grew up in foster care systems as well, and my children
Okay.
as well, because of domestic violence, Adrian. And the biggest thing is they do not check enough, you know, don't do enough research on the family, because they have good jobs, it's a good home. That's unfault. There's people getting beaten that are millionaires and billionaires out there that have domestic violence in their home. We really got to stop and break that stigma and bring the change and the voice. And that's what you're doing, is you're bringing the voice. That foster care system is not all wines and roses. There are some people that are foster parents that are horrible, who do horrendous crimes, worse than the parents themselves.
Exactly. Worse than the abuse suffered at the hands of the parent.
We have a couple of questions that are coming in the studio, Adrian, and I just want to get those out to you. We have one here. I'm just going to pop it up so you can see it as well. And they want to know, Adrian, how did you begin rebuilding after everything changed?
Well, so I actually received a congressional scholarship to do a 1-year foreign exchange to Germany. And I pursued that opportunity. I filled out that application because I needed to get out of that foster home. I was desperate to leave anywhere, even a foreign country where I did not speak the language, was better than the hell that I was living through. And so that was the first time. But later in my early 20s, I was still carrying all of that pain and trauma. And I was self-medicating with drugs and alcohol, just anything to numb the pain and the suffering. And I didn't really fully start healing until I had my daughter at 25. And I call her my angel. I believe that she was put in my life for a reason, so that I would get my act together. And it was a conscious decision for me. I have abandonment issues, as well as an attachment disorder. I don't bond with people the way other people do. And I didn't bond with my daughter immediately. She was born August 7th. And on November 8th, I woke up. I had passed out on the bathroom floor mat. And I woke up, and in my second psychiatric evaluation, which I include on my website, Unbroken Caldwell, it's there. There's a line that says, Adrian is terrified of having children because she is afraid that she is going to do to them what was done to her. So November 8th, I wake up hungover, And it is the day that I decided that I would be a mother to my daughter, that I would raise her, that I would give her a childhood that I did not get. And I fought from that day forward. I fought alcoholism. I fought the need to drink. I became a professional. I got a real job, and I pursued that. I ended up being a banker, and then I became a financial advisor, ultimately a senior financial advisor, certified financial planner. I became a woman that my daughter could look up to and respect, and independent. I didn't have to rely on a man to support me. So really, ultimately, it comes down to my daughter. She was the impetus for me to get my act together.
Well, it kind of goes with the question that came in from one of the viewers. Adrienne, what was the turning point that helped you move from surviving to truly healing?
Mm.
And I kind of think that you just answered that kind of with your daughter. I truly get that 100%. How do you be a mom when you didn't have a mom?
That's a
scares the
great
living
question.
crap. That scares the living crap out of me myself. Like when I had my children, I was like, I never had a mom. How do I be a mom?
It's like I saw everything of what not to do. That's what I learned. I learned what not to do. And I did have a couple of role models in my life. My Aunt Rose, I call her my second mother. I say God didn't give me a mother and a father. He gave me two mothers. So I had her as a role model. I actually lived in her home, 4th grade, 8th grade, 12th grade. And yeah, so I had that. And then living with my host family for that year in Germany, it was the first time that I really saw a functional family with healthy communication skills. And it gave me that aha moment, the light bulb going off on this is what it's supposed to look like. This is how you're supposed to act and behave. So yes, I was blessed with two female role models who served as role models on how to be a mother. So,
Adrienne, I want to ask you something.
okay.
Going through the foster care system, where is the broken in the system?
Okay, let's do it. So, a little bit about what I went through in foster care. TBFH, she completely dehumanized us. We were not allowed to sit on the furniture. We had to sit on the floor like animals. At mealtime, we did not sit with the family. We sat either at the kitchen bar or in the laundry room. We had separate dishes and utensils. The foster girls had the master bedroom, so that TBFH could shove as many girls as legally allowed into the space, and there was a half bath connected, so a sink and a toilet. And the foster girls were only allowed to use that toilet. There was one full bathroom in the house, so sink, toilet, shower. And the last foster girl to shower in the evening had to clean the tub with a bleach cleaner before the foster family would get in the tub. So we were systematically dehumanized, degraded, devalued. And a couple of key quotes that I remember. One time I was trying on swimsuits and I came out to show TBFH, and she looked at me and said, "Your thighs are fat. I'm surprised you haven't started throwing up to lose weight." And that started a battle with bulimia that unfortunately continues to this day. I still struggle with it. Another time when I was 15, the psychiatrist decided that I needed to be put on medication. And my 15-year-old self thought that I was broken, I was defected, I was damaged goods. And I went back to TBFH's house and I took my razor apart and started to cut my wrists. I cut both wrists. And when she looked at it, when she found out that they weren't deep, it wasn't life-threatening, and I couldn't do much with the razor from a shaving razor, with the blade from a shaving razor. But she looked at it and she said, "You didn't even do it right. You're supposed to cut along the vein, not across." That's what she told me at 15 years old.
Adrian, I got a question.
Yes.
Is this foster mom still fostering kids?
No.
Thank goodness.
That was when I started going through my files and reaching out to attorneys in the state. That was one thing that I wanted to ensure. And honestly, I was ashamed that I hadn't reached out and shared my story sooner. I was terrified that in the 20 years that it's taken for me to be able to share this, that she did have other girls that she traumatized. I have heard, I have no idea if this is true or not, but I have heard that a girl committed suicide while in her care, and I do believe it. I believe it absolutely, and that her license was revoked. Now, the system being broken, so TBFH did not work for the state of Texas. She worked for a company that contracted with the Department of Family Protective Services. So this company, this for-profit company, they weren't a nonprofit, they were in it to make money. It was a business. They were contracted, and TBFH didn't report to the state or DFPS or CPS. She reported to that for-profit company. So it was the way foster care works, the higher your emotional needs, the higher the payout. It's a perverse incentive to keep the children damaged, to not help them. Because as soon as they move down the scale in their needs, that's a pay cut for the foster parent. So between having for-profit companies run foster care homes and having, sorry.
Take your time. Take your time. It's your time, sweetheart.
And that perverse incentive to not help the foster children get better, it's designed to fail. The social safety net has massive holes in it. And our children are our most precious resource, and we are not taking care of them. Some quick facts that I'm sure you know, but in most states, I don't know if it's in all, but in most states, at least in the state of Texas, if you're a ward of the state until you're 18, you can go to any public state university and the tuition and fees are waived. And you don't just have to go to college. You can go to vocational school and learn a trade, become a beautician, a plumber, an electrician. And less than 3% of foster kids take advantage of this.
Okay.
Another fact, 1 in 5 prisoners, 20% of the US prison population, they're former foster kids. They're coming from the system. And finally, 7 out of 10 girls who've been in foster care, 7 out of 10 have a child by the time they are 21 years old. So not only are we failing the children who are currently in the system, we are failing their children as well. We are not helping with ensuring that they get a vocation and that they're able to take care of themselves. We're perpetuating the cycle. When you have a child at 18, 19, 20, without having any kind of vocational training or college, that's the paradigm. That's the structure for dysfunction that allows for generational trauma to continue. Because that girl, that 7 out of 10 girls, those girls have been radically abused and have most of the time, all of the time, they're not recovered. They're in no position to become a parent themselves. And they are anyway. So those are some statistics that I found when I was researching. And I wish I could say that I was shocked, but I'm not.
Yeah. I'm in Canada, you're in the United States, and the system is the same in both countries.
Okay.
A lot of the kids that are on the street that are homeless today are coming from foster homes because they're giving them this lifestyle that a normal parent cannot give. Instead of giving them real life skills, they'll give them like fancy trips or fancy clothes and stuff like that. And then as soon as they're out of the foster care home, some of the foster care systems like that, Adrienne, not like the one that you were in, but other homes will give these kids outrageous gifts to keep them attached, to break the parent connection with the biological parent, so that the biological parent has no way of competing. It's not even a competing game. It's that child will stay with the foster home because it's getting all of the rewards and the fancy trips and the materialistic stuff that a normal parent cannot give. So the parent feels abandoned by their child, abandoned by the systems, abandoned by the services. There are some parents that go and ask for help. Like myself, in my situation, I reached out for help for my kids, for protection. There's different stories out there, but the system is so broken that we're not sharing the facts. We're not sharing that 75% of the homeless kids that are out there that are under the age of 25 are coming from foster homes.
I'm sorry, did you say 75%?
75%.
Wow.
Of the homeless people that are in Canada and United States. You guys really need to start doing your research, start getting educated, start asking those hard questions, and start asking, why are people on the streets? Why are people have addictions? Why there's so much trauma in this world today? We're coming from broken systems. We're not coming from broken homes. We're coming from broken systems. Broken society telling us who is better and who is not better. And that's why this platform is here, so that we can get these stories like yours, Adrienne, out here. So we can get these facts out there, the numbers out there, the statistics, the people that are living it, not just somebody who's writing a story because they want to write a story. They've actually lived it. Adrienne has lived these things. She's lived in these homes that are damaged. We're not saying all foster homes are bad, but there are some that are horrible and they should be investigated.
Absolutely.
Goes down.
And in the US, I don't know about Canada, but in the US, many, I don't know the percentage, many foster parents do it as a vocation, as a career. They have no other skills. So the only thing they can do is cram as many girls into their home as the state will legally allow, and have that paycheck from taking care of the girls. It sounds like there are some wealthy foster families. That's absolutely not my experience. And TBFH, she used it. This was her income.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it is sad. I had a good foster home who taught me how to dress myself, who taught me how to clean and how to cook, and that. I learned it from that one. But then another foster home, I sat at the table and I had to eat. Even if I vomited in my bowl, I had to eat the bowl. There are horrible stories out there. And this is why we want to have these stories out here. We want to have your story out there, Adrienne, and we want to get your book out there because there are so many children that need your book. that need to hear those stories, that they are not alone. Children out there that are listening to Tea Time that are saying, you know what, Miss Liz, I feel alone. I can't do it. Yes, you can. Reach out to survivors. We have a question here. What advice would you give to survivors watching now, Adrienne?
Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for the damage and the hurt and the pain that you may have caused as you've entered adulthood. You weren't given the tools that you need to survive, to thrive, not survive. You weren't given the tools you need to thrive. So forgive yourself and take control of your own life. The decisions you make today directly impact your tomorrow. So if you're choosing to numb yourself with drugs, with alcohol, with any of the various addictions that you can get into, anything you're doing to numb yourself, you're not setting yourself up for success. You're setting yourself up for failure. So acknowledge the power and the control that you do have over your own life. Know that what you decide today is directly impacting your tomorrow. And if you want a better life, take action. If you are a ward of the state or a former ward of the state, go to school, learn a trade, go to school, avoid the drugs, avoid the alcohol, start therapy. There are numerous organizations where therapy can be provided. Take control. Take control is really the advice that I have. Take control of your life.
I want to get into your tea that you gave me because I think it's really important, the tea you gave me. The tea you gave me was hope for the best, expect the worst, and accept what comes. Why did you give me that tea for?
So after my mother beat me with the wooden dowel rod, the essential baseball bat, we got on a bus. She did it to break my spirit because the week before she had tried to make me get on a Greyhound bus. She wanted to go move from Houston, where our family is, to San Francisco because there was a man in prison, a serial rapist and murderer. There was a man in prison that she had been corresponding with, and she wanted to be closer to him. So that prior week, she took us, my brother and me, down to the Greyhound bus station, and I refused to get on the bus. And she took me on the last day of school. She took me into her closet, beat me with the wooden closet rod. And that week, when she took me to the Greyhound bus station, I got on. And my brother sat with my mother, and I sat with this little Hispanic woman. And I raised my sleeves and I showed her the bruises. And I said, my mom beat me. And those are the words that she told me. And I guess I wanted her to do something more, but she's given me advice that I have followed my entire life. And hope for the best. So be optimistic. Don't automatically, be positive. Be positive. Expect the worst. Know that it can always get worse. No matter how bad your situation is, find something to be grateful for, because I guarantee you it can get worse. And then accept what comes. There are things that you cannot change, you cannot control. Speaking of those kids, my story really should not be shared with teens. It's 18 and up because of the content that I cover. There is pedophilia, but just accepting life. It's been my guiding philosophy for how I've coped. And it's not a trite little phrase. It's teaching me about gratitude and control. Take control, change what I can, It's very much like the AA serenity prayer. So that's where that comes from.
So, Adrienne, what is the most valuable lesson you learned from your trauma?
Oh, most valuable lesson. Most valuable lesson. Well, I don't know that I have a single most valuable lesson. I do have some things that I believe. It can always get worse. Just some life things that I live by. Your relationship is made or broken based on communication. People are generally good. I don't think people set out to hurt and cause pain to other people. I think that people are coming from traumatic backgrounds themselves, and they may not have the necessary skills. Another one is people make the best decision they can with the information they have at the time. And I like to do a little analogy. If somebody walks up to you and offers a $5 bill and a $10 bill, well, you're going to take the $10 bill. That makes the most sense. Well, it turns out the $10 bill was counterfeit. You should have taken the $5. But when you were presented that opportunity, you went with the 10 because you thought that was the best. And that's how I view people and decision making. They really are trying to do the best they can with the information at the time. Another creed that I adhere to is be quick to forgive. Be quick to forgive. Open your heart. Understand that people make mistakes. Happiness is a choice. And I'm not talking about major depressive disorder. I'm not diminishing that. I have struggled with it since I was 15 years old. But you can choose how to view your life, yourself. You can choose to view it glass half full, glass half empty. And I think I will go with one or two more. You deserve what you earn, not what you want just because you want it. You deserve what you earn. And I'll close with my depression rules. I told my best friend of 35 years this. So these are the rules for when you are depressed. Eat at least once a day. Shower at least twice a week. Sleep as much as possible. If you are in this situation, if your depression lasts more than 2 to 3 weeks, seek help. So those are my depression rules. I also have dating rules.
Oh,
Are you interested?
Deep time.
So, yeah.
Let's throw a couple of those dating rules out there, Adrienne, because the abandonment issues and the attachment issues, that has a lot to do with dating.
Okay. So, never date anyone who's unemployed. Never date anyone who still lives with their parents. Never date. And the first two, it sounds kind of mean. Like there are life situations where a person may have to go back to their family, or they may have just lost the job. It's not a personal reflection on that individual. It's the fact that they are not in a place in their life where they can be in a relationship, a relationship to grow and blossom. They can't give that to you. Another rule, never date anyone you work with. That's pretty obvious, but I've still done it. And never date anyone who lives like in your neighborhood or in your apartment complex. Because when you break up, they're still there.
You got to face that person.
Yes. So those are my depression rules, my dating rules, and kind of like my life axioms that that I adhere to, and it helps me.
So, Adrian, strength or softness, what saved you more?
Ooh, strength.
And Adrian, does your little inner child have a name?
No, just me, just Adrian Michelle.
And how old is that inner child?
5.
Do you want to tell us why?
I don't know why. Maybe because I was so damaged later on that when I think of myself, I like to, at 5, my grandmother was still alive. I was adored, and I was precocious. My second chapter in my book, Unbroken, is precious and precocious. You know, I argued one time with my grandma that it was spelled Granma, not Grandma. I was like, it's grandma. So I'm 5 years old telling my grandmother how to spell grandma, and I spelled it out phonetically for her. And it was when I was happy. So those years with my grandmother were when I was safe, when I was protected, when I was cherished. And I did not have that for the rest of my childhood. And really, even in the relationships that I developed in my early 20s. And I feel now in my current life that I am loved and cherished. And I am still very close to my Aunt Rose, the one I call my second mother. And I have an incredible life. But yeah, 5 years old.
Finish this sentence for me. We are unbroken because
we have indomitable spirits. Because our spirit is indomitable.
And can you tell us when your book is coming out, where they can get the book, all of that good stuff? And I'm going to pull it back up so the viewers and listeners can see what book we're talking about.
Awesome. Yes. So Unbroken Caldwell. Well, the book is available on Amazon beginning March 17th. That's the book launch. I am hosting a Facebook live stream on March 17th at 1 o'clock and 7 o'clock Central. It'll be available at any major book retailer. I'm in talks with Barnes & Noble right now. And my website is a resource. I have photos of myself. I have my CPS case files, including both psychiatric evaluations, posted on my website. You can actually read the documentation. And what I'm doing is I've had those documents transcribed, and there will be a companion text to Unbroken Life Outside the Lines. It will be the case file. And my goal is to ultimately have the 2 books in the classroom for students of psychology, counseling, social work. So that's kind of like the long-term goal, is to be a resource for those individuals, in addition to being the resource for anyone who has gone through trauma and is trying to come out the other side. And I am on Facebook, Insta, LinkedIn under Unbroken Caldwell. And please, please reach out to me. I will respond. But yeah, that's me.
So Adrian, what would you like to see happen with the systems?
Oh God, we have got to prioritize our children. We have to stop monetizing foster care. That's just flawed. It's wrong. We have to take care of our social workers. You cannot dump 25 or 30 kids on one social worker and expect her to stay in the job. the turnover rate for caseworkers is insanely high. Nobody stays more than 4 or 5 years because they don't make enough money. They're significantly underpaid. They are overworked. They don't have the institutional support that they need. So, yeah.
And Adrienne, I asked you to give me one word to describe yourself, and you gave me the word fierce.
Yes.
Why that word?
Because I wasn't beaten. I wasn't broken down. My spirit remains intact. So yes, I am fierce, and I am fierce about what I stand for and who I want to present to the world. I want the world to see somebody who's gone through hell. I've been through hell in my life, and I'm on the other side of it. And I want to be that source of hope for somebody who's struggling right now. I want them to know that it can get better. Make good decisions. Make decisions that put yourself in a better position tomorrow. So, fierce.
And what inner light keeps you going?
What inner light keeps me going?
Is it faith? Is it writing? Is it music? What keeps you going?
I love music. Music can help with my emotions. I use it for happiness. Like if I'm feeling a little low, I'll put on old school rap and hip hop. If I'm feeling angry or hurt, which I still feel at times, I'll listen to darker music. It helps me express or feel those emotions. Yeah, but really it's just hope that keeps me going.
And Adrienne, what message would you have to the little girl inside you?
To my little girl, it's going to get so much better. It's so much better. You can't even imagine how good your life is going to be. So just hold on, stay strong, and love yourself, forgive yourself, because I didn't learn the social skills. I didn't learn the communication skills. I didn't learn how to be as a person. So I hurt people. I manipulated people. I did things that I share in the book that I'm deeply ashamed of. In fact, beta readers, I received feedback a couple of times that says, Adrienne, you look like the villain. Telling this part of the story, you come across as the villain. Are you sure, you don't want to change it so that you come off in a better light? And I say, no, because I was the villain at times. I did do some very bad things. I hurt people. I broke up a family. I did damage. And about 6 years ago, I started making amends. And I think everything, the book, the outreach, I think everything probably stemmed from that I was reaching out to the people that I had hurt and just letting them know that I was sorry and that I treated them poorly and that I know that, and I caused them pain, and I apologized. And I didn't like go have a meeting with each person that I screwed over. I reached out on social media. One person, I mailed a letter that did not have my return address. I needed to make amends in order to forgive myself. And I did.
So Adrienne, what final message do you have for everyone today?
Just hold on. Hold on. You have the power to make it better. You have more control than you think. even if you're a teen who, again, really shouldn't read my book, you have control over your thoughts, over how you react to situations, to your behavior. You know, are you going to do well in school or are you going to flunk out? You have power, and use it, exercise it, make good decisions, be positive. Even if you're in a crappy situation, it could be worse. Again, that's one of my life rules. It can always get worse. So, gratitude.
Well, I want to really thank you for sharing your story with my listeners today and all of the viewers out there. What a brave and eye-opening conversation. Adrienne, thank you for your honesty and your strength. You reminded us that trauma does not disappear when the bruises fade. Emotional and psychological wounds can linger long after the visible signs are gone. Survival is not weakness, it is courage in motion. This afternoon, we learned that shame belongs to the abuser, not the survivor, that healing is not linear, that rebuilding identity takes patience, truth, and community. You showed us that broken does not mean defeated, it means endured. To everyone listening, if this conversation resonated with you, know this: you are not alone, your story is valid, your healing matters, there is strength in speaking, and there is power in awareness. There is hope in rebuilding. Adrienne's journey proves that brokenness is not the final chapter. Unbroken is. Until we gather again, keep choosing truth, keep choosing awareness, and keep choosing to rise. And I'll see everybody on Thursday, and we'll do this all over again. Thank you guys for joining today on Tea Time.